Hey everyone, welcome back to the homestead. Today I wanted to show you a recipe that I make typically throughout the holiday season, but because I wasn't hosting this year, I didn't have a chance to make any of this. My family calls it mini pizzas. In the US, it seems like it's similar to a bagel bite. So I want to show you how I prepare this here at home. It's a great easy lunch, or if you're having friends over, a fantastic appetizer. It's easy to take along with you also. So here I'm preparing the first ingredients, which is salami. Salami often comes wrapped in a casing, and I just remove that. Sometimes it comes in like a papery or waxy casing, and you don't want to eat that. So remove that first. I'm going to prepare this in my food processor. So I'm actually slicing this up small enough to fit into the food processor more easily. This is something that stores well either in the fridge or even in the freezer, so I often make a large batch of it all at one time. I'm using just a mild salami that is a store brand, compliments from here in Canada. It comes from the Sobeys brand. And this is the cheapest option that I could find. Um, and I'm going to prepare a whole bunch of this. I thought when preparing this, I was definitely going to have some to put in the freezer, but Chris actually added this to some omelets. He said it was really good, and I'm not complaining that it got used up, so I'm glad he enjoyed those. I didn't have any left over for the freezer, but that's okay. We can always make another batch later if we still have a craving for this. The next ingredient is cheddar cheese. I use old cheddar. You want a sharper cheddar for this recipe. It'll just add more flavor. If all you have is a medium cheddar, I'm sure it'll work just fine. I know I've used that in the past, but old cheddar is most certainly preferred. Again, I'm just slicing this up so that it'll fit in the food processor because this is also going in the food processor. Now, I am in the middle of a pantry challenge. I am participating in the Three Rivers Pantry Challenge for the months of January and February. I remembered that I had a larger block of old cheddar cheese in the fridge from Costco, and I knew I was going to need to open that, so I chose to leave the other smaller block sealed so that it would last longer in the fridge. We'll go through this old cheddar pretty quickly. I did want to point out that I should have used smaller chunks for the food processor because I'm not actually shredding this. I'll show you that I'm using the chopping blade in the food processor, and because I'm not feeding it through the shredding attachment, it's a bit harder on the appliance. So smaller blocks would have been better, but this worked just fine. You're gonna need a really large bowl because we're gonna be mixing everything together and adding additional ingredients. So I use my bread bowl here. Real life, I forgot to film this, but I used the chopping blade as I said. I wanted to quickly show you the texture that I was looking for. You want both the salami and the cheese to be of a similar texture. Try not to turn it into a mush. You want it to be chopped, not pureed. This is one of the very few recipes or dishes that I actually don't have a recipe for from my mom. Something that I actually learned to cook from texture, taste, feel, sounds. This is how both her and my grandmother cook. I do know that I'm looking for a higher meat to cheese ratio, that nothing needs to be perfect for this recipe. It's going to taste good. Chili sauce is the binder really for this recipe. I did end up using the entire bottle for what I had here. And this is a recipe you're just gonna have to work with. Chili sauce is actually pretty sweet and it turns out really good. I did start with mixing in half the bottle, but you'll see here that I do add in quite a bit more throughout the process. So I've now reached the level of chili sauce to meat and cheese ratio that I want it. I'm going to start adding our spices, which starts with oregano leaves. You do want quite a bit of oregano leaves, so much so that I realized that shaking these out wasn't going to work and I best start scooping them. I'm pretty sure I added 2 to 3 tablespoons to this recipe. Our next and last ingredient is ground mustard powder. You do also use a fair amount of this, and it really does make the flavor of this recipe, in my opinion. After combining all the ingredients well, I realized I was missing a whole lot of oregano and added another half of a tablespoon. So we're up to about 1 full tablespoon of dried oregano at this point. And a key method of this recipe is to taste as you go. I'm deciding here if I have a good balance of everything, and I know I added more ground mustard. That was the thing that I didn't have enough of, so I did add quite a bit more. On this night, I decided this was going to be dinner, and Chris asked that we have some vegetables along with the salami and cheese. So I decided that carrot sticks would go along with this well with some ranch dressing from Costco. And this is the reality of homesteading. Some things, are really, really homemade, and other things, you just gotta get food in bellies. Of course, reducing food waste on the homestead is always a goal. We're doing a lot better about that so far in 2025. And one of those ways is feeding food scraps to the chickens rather than putting it into the municipal compost. So this bowl here of peels from the carrots will go right out to the chickens either this evening or the next morning when they get fed. And they will be some very, very happy ladies to receive those. This is the Hidden Valley Ranch dressing that I buy at Costco. This is one of the things that we do because it stores longer. I could make homemade ranch dressing, but in the end of the day, I would have a whole lot of food waste. For the salami and cheese, on this day I just added it to white bread, that's what I had. Otherwise, I would add it to English muffins or baguettes. Broil in the oven until the cheese is melted, and enjoy your dinner. Catch you guys on the next one. If you guys like this content, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll make sure to see you in future videos.